a very unfair person to the voters to agree to whatever the president is doing, even when it is wrong, when it is against the law, when it's a violation of the constitution. And therefore, I had to tell him no from inside, because the opposition had already been compromised. If the opposition was functioning, probably I would have just sat and be criticized together with the president. But in the absence of an opposition in the country, and the excesses were becoming too much, and the population was getting very agitated. And you must remember, Peter, that I was elected by the people, and people who elected me alongside the president were asking me questions. And by the way, my support base, where I come from, gave the president 47% of the vote. And therefore, their voice was very loud because they are the majority. And they were holding me to account because I'm the one who campaigned for William Ruto. I'm the one who persuaded them that we need to elect him as president. And they were asking me very many questions as to what happened, because we were not honoring the promises that we gave. We had become dictatorial. We had turned against the very people who elected us. Therefore, I needed to speak from inside, and I could not have been a sycophant. It was not possible because I was not his appointee. I had been elected directly by the people of Kenya.
So one big question some people might have is, were you using the deputy president position to position yourself to become president in the future?
Not at all. Elections were far away. The issues between me and the president was not about future elections. They were about deception. They were about lying to the people of Kenya. They were about brutality against young children. They were about dictatorship. They were about abandoning democratic credentials. We had rode into office on a very popular wave of people who are democratic, people who listen to the people who are people-centered, people who love the people who want to do economic empowerment. But as soon as we got into the office, the president changed. He was no longer the same man we campaigned together. He became very, very autocratic. He became dictatorial. He became unreasonable. He became very agitated when you give a different opinion. He abandoned all the programs we had promised the people, the bottom-up economic model. We had promised to put money into people's pockets. Instead of putting money into people's pockets, we started removing the little that was in the pockets through excessive taxation that is not well reasoned out. We went against promises of that we shall never evict people and demolish them without alternative accommodation. We started evicting people, demolishing their homes at night. And these are things that I could not take because we had been elected because of very, very good promises we had given to the people. Then 1 year down the line, we had turned against the very people who put us in office. I could not agree to go down with him. I had to say no.
Were you ever on the same page, genuinely, or was this a political arrangement that was made of compromise?
Initially, we were on the same page. He had beautiful programs. He was very persuasive, and he persuaded me that he meant well for the country. And I was persuaded beyond reasonable doubt that if he became president, the country would change. People's lives would change for the better. People would be more empowered. There will be economic prosperity. There will be more freedom. There will be democracy. And Kenyans would be a happier lot. I was persuaded. And he was very convincing as long as he was campaigning. But 6 months after we were sworn into office, I started seeing a different person. He started being dictatorial. He became extremely unreasonable. He would not take advice from anybody. He started mistreating me. He started abusing me. He started setting young leaders to attack me in public rallies simply because I was telling him, let's do the right thing. So I was persuaded from the word go. But as soon as we got in office, this was no longer the man that I had campaigned for. This was a totally different person, and I could not cope with him. My chemistry and his would not be able to move together because that is not the person I had known.
He says that the corruption allegations against you were perhaps tarnishing government, and that became a problem, and that's why he had to sideline you.
There were no corruption allegations against me other than what was brought into the Senate. And what was brought in the Senate was not about anything to do with the public. It was about my family, within my family, and my family was not complaining. Every family have their own challenges, like we all do. But no single allegation was brought against me of misappropriating public funds. Up to date, no allegation has ever been brought against me. In fact, if I had misappropriated public funds, I would be in court today. I would have had my day in court. There was no single allegation against me on corruption. He simply wanted me out because he had become a dictator. And I was saying, no, you cannot be a dictator. I was telling him, you have become deceptive. You have abandoned the people. You know, you are doing all the wrong things. This is not what we agreed. You are killing young children. You are abducting them. That is why he had to get me out. All the accusations were nothing but excuses.
So, what could be lessons for other African democracies in the way that your impeachment was dealt with by Kenya?
Well, I think we need to really look at the law and increase the threshold. I think it is unfair for somebody elected by 7.2 million people to be removed from office by 200 people. I think it is not right. It is not fair. I think in another dispensation,